Marc Paul Dutroux, born in 1956, is a Belgian serial killer, rapist, and child molester whose crimes horrified a nation. Between 1995 and 1996, he kidnapped, tortured, and sexually abused 6 girls aged 8 to 19, murdering 4 of them, including 2 buried alive and 2 starved to death in his basement dungeon. He also killed an accomplice, Bernard Weinstein. In this documentary, we dissect the psychology and psychoanalysis behind Dutroux's monstrous acts, exploring the dark corners of his mind through a chilling lens. Why spotlight Marc Dutroux? Because his crimes aren't just evil. They're a psychological abyss, a twisted mix of sadism, control, and depravity that screams for analysis. His methodical kidnappings, hidden dungeons, and cold-blooded murders make him a horrifying case study in psychopathy. Picture this. June 24, 1995, Liège, Belgium. 2 8-year-old girls, Julie Lejeune and Melissa Rousseau, vanish while playing near their homes. Dutroux lures them into his van, chains them in a basement cage, and rapes them repeatedly, filming their torment for the New York Times. Months later, while he's jailed for car theft, they starve to death, abandoned by his wife, Michelle Martin, who's too scared to feed them for oxygen. August 1995, Marche, 17, and Yves Lambrecht, 19, disappear on holiday. Dutroux drugs them, rapes them, and buries them alive in his garden. Per in 1996, Sabine Dardenne, 12, and Laetitia Delez, 14, are chained to a bed in his soundproof dungeon, raped daily. Per Daily Mail. He kills accomplice Bernard Weinstein, bury him alive too, per Wikipedia. These atrocities, executed with chilling precision, demand we unravel what drove this predator. Let's start at the root, because monsters aren't born, they're made. Marc Dutroux, born November 6, 1956, in Ixelles, Brussels, was the eldest of 5 kids to Victor, a teacher, and Janine, a controlling mother who called him unwanted. Per his early years were chaos. His family moved to Burundi, then the Belgian Congo, where his father worked, returned to Belgium in 1962. His parents' marriage was a mess. Victor was erratic with psychiatric issues, and Janine was calculating. Per Dutroux's own words, and he claimed his mother abused him, even alleging incest, though unproven. Per this screams attachment disorder. When a kid grows up unloved, they can't bond properly, per Psychology Today. Psychoanalytically, Freud would say this rejection fueled a repressed ID, a deep rage bubbling under his surface. By his teens, Dutroux was trouble. Kicked out of schools in Moreland-Wells, Fleurus, and Charleroi for being unruly, he barely scraped by with an electrician's diploma, for he sold explicit photos to classmates, showing early signs of conduct disorder, a precursor to antisocial personality disorder, where empathy is absent, per PMC. At 16, he left home, worked as a prostitute serving men, and started stealing cars' money, even from his grandma. Per this rejection and instability likely created a narcissistic wound, a shame he'd later unleash on his victims, per the Journal of Forensic Psychiatry and Psychology. By his 20s, Dutroux was a chameleon, charming, manipulative, but rotten inside. He married Françoise Dubois at 19, had 2 sons, then ditched her for Michelle Martin, a teacher he met in an ice rink. Per he beat Françoise, later saying he gave her to a friend because she didn't suit him. Per with Martin, he had 3 more kids but ignored them, obsessed with having a daughter to initiate into incest, per Daily Mail. This points to sexual sadism disorder, where pain and control fuel arousal, per Psychology Today. His double life, unemployed electrician by day, predator by night, shows splitting, where he separated his normal self from his monstrous urges, a trait of organized serial killers, per Serial Killer Wikipedia. His crimes escalated in the 1980s. He and Martin kidnapped and raped 5 girls, landing him a 13-year sentence in 1989, but he was paroled in just 3 years, despite psychiatrists calling him an incorrigible psychopath. For this early release fueled his grandiosity, a hallmark of narcissistic personality disorder, where he saw himself as untouchable, per PMC. Psychoanalytically, his victims were projections of his mother's rejection, per The Guardian. He didn't just want sex, he wanted to dominate, to erase his own powerlessness. Why young girls? Dutroux targeted girls aged 8 to 19, vulnerable, trusting, and powerless. Julie Lejeune and Melissa Rousseau, both 8, were easy prey. snatched while playing in Liège, per Euronews. And Marche, 17, and Yves Lambrecht, 19, were on holiday, carefree and unaware, per Oxygen. Sabine Dardenne, 12, and Laetitia Delhez, 14, were biking alone, per Daily Mail. Psychologically, this is opportunistic predation. He picked girls who were accessible, often alone, per Psychology Today. Psychoanalytically, they were surrogates for his mother or the control he craved, per Freud's theories. His focus on young girls suggests pedophilia, but Belgian Senator Amory Lizin argued he wasn't a true pedophile, just a predator with a murderous desire to control. Per The Guardian, his choice of victims reflects sexual sadism, where he got off on their fear and pain, per PMC. He didn't just rape them, he chained them, starved them, filmed them, and let them write unsent letters home, per Ranker. This sadistic control was his way of rewriting his own childhood helplessness. Per the Journal of Forensic Psychiatry and Psychology, the girls' youth and innocence made them perfect targets for his need to dominate, per Oxygen. June 24th, 1995. Liège, Belgium. Julie Lejeune and Melissa Russo, both 8, are playing near their homes when a white van pulls up. Marc Dutroux, with Michelle Martin driving, lures them inside, promising candy. He takes them to his Marcinelle house, locks them in a 3-foot-wide dungeon hidden behind a shelf, chains them by the neck, and rapes them repeatedly, filming their screams, per Daily Mail. In December 1995, Dutroux is jailed for car theft. Martin, told to feed them, leave them to starve, too afraid to enter the basement, per the New York Times. By March 1996, their emaciated bodies are dead, later buried in his Sars-la-Bichière garden, per Euronews. August 1995, Ostend A.N. Marshall and Yves Lambrecht, on holiday, are drugged and snatched by Dutroux and accomplice Bernard Weinstein. Chained in the dungeon, they're raped and tortured. Dutroux buries them alive in Weinstein's garden, their lungs filling with dirt, per Oxygen. May 1996, Sabine Dardenne, 12, is biking when Dutroux grabs her, chains her to a bed, and rapes her for 80 days, forcing her to write in a diary marked with excess for pain, per Ranker. August 1996. Laetitia Delhez, 14, is abducted, raped, and caged until police find her, per Daily Mail. Dutroux kills Weinstein, burying him alive, suspecting betrayal, per Wikipedia. These acts scream lust killing, where torture fuels arousal, per PMC. His dungeons, soundproof and hidden, show a chilling forensic awareness, per Serial Killer Wikipedia. Dutroux's psyche is a perfect storm of disorders. Psychiatrists at his trial called him a pure psychopath, per Fox News, blending psychopathy and sexual sadism disorder. His narcissistic personality disorder made him crave control, seeing himself as a god over his victims, per the Journal of Forensic Psychiatry and Psychology. His childhood rejection likely fueled a paranoid personality disorder, where he distrusted everyone, even killing Weinstein, per Wikipedia. Neuropsychologically, serial killers often have frontal lobe dysfunction, impairing impulse control, per Killer. Cloud. While untested, his calculated crimes suggest a twisted rationality, not impulsivity. Psychoanalytically, his murders were regression to a primal state, his ID unleashed, per Freud. His dungeons were a symbolic womb, where he controlled life and death, per Psychology Today. His claim of a pedophile ring, per The Guardian, might have been a delusional projection to dodge responsibility, though some, like Judge Connerat, believe he was linked to a network, per Consortium News. His lack of remorse, "I'm not a murderer," he said, per BBC, shows a psychopathic void where guilt should be. His cooling-off periods fit the FBI's serial killer profile, per Wikipedia. The crime scenes were nightmares. In Marcinelle, police found a soundproof dungeon, barely 3 feet wide, where Sabine and Laetitia were chained, covered in bruises, per Daily Mail. Julie and Melissa's bodies, dug up in Sars-la-Bichière, were skeletal, starved to death, per Euronews. And in Yves' remains, buried alive, were found in Weinstein's garden, per Oxygen. Sabine Dardenne at trial screamed at Dutroux, "Why didn't you kill me?" per BBC. Gino Russo, Melissa's father, told Euronews, "The dungeon was a tomb. Impossible they survived 106 days. His voice breaking. Neighbors heard screams that were ignored per X-Case files. The media frenzy was intense. The New York Times called him a monster who shook Belgium. X-Posts, like at Jake Schilt's Edge in 2025, claimed he ran a torture ring for elites, fueling conspiracy theories per. The White March in 1996 saw 300,000 Belgians protest police failures, per Wikipedia. Police missed clues. Dutroix's mother warned he was holding girls, but they didn't search properly. Per 20 witnesses died mysteriously, per Consortium News, amplifying distrust. August 13th, 1996, a witness spotted a red van with a partial license plate after Letitia's abduction. Police trace it to Dutroux, arrest him, Martin and Michel Lelivre. Per Dutroux leads him to his Marcinelle dungeon, where Sabine and Letitia are found, traumatized but alive, per Daily Mail. He confesses to the kidnappings but denies murders, blaming Weinstein and a network, per The Guardian. The investigation was a mess. Police ignored 27 tip-offs, including from Dutroix's mother, and missed the dungeon twice, per. Judge Connerat, who rescued Sabine and Letitia, was sacked for attending a victim's fundraiser, per Wikipedia. The media exploded at Le Monstre podcast, per Fox News, called him Belgium's nightmare. X-Posts, like at Gab AI in 2025, claimed a protected pedophile ring, per. The New York Times reported 20 witnesses' mysterious deaths, fueling conspiracy theories, per. The 2004 trial, with 450 witnesses, was a circus. Dutroix's escape attempt in 1998, stealing a cop's gun, sparked a manhunt, per Daily Mail. Families, like Jean-Denis Lejeune, called it moral torture, per BBC. August 17th, 1996. Dutroux leads police to his Sars-la-Bachir property, where Julie, Melissa, and Weinstein's bodies are found, per Euronews. His 2004 trial in Arlon charged him with murder, rape, kidnapping, and more, per Wikipedia. Martin, Lelivre, and Michel Nihal faced accomplice charges. Dutroux claimed he was a pawn in a pedophile ring. Per Sabine's testimony, per BBC, was gut-wrenching. She described 80 days of rape and starvation. On June 22nd, 2004, Dutroux got life without parole, Martin 30 years, Lelivre 25, and Nihal 5 for drugs, per Wikipedia. Martin's 2012 parole sparked protests, per the New York Times. Dutroux, now 68, remains in solitary, denied parole in 2020, per Euronews. What does Marc Dutroux teach us about evil? He's the embodiment of Hannah Arendt's banality of evil, a nobody electrician who chose to torture and kill for power, per The Guardian. His crimes were about control, not passion, a calculated bid to dominate the helpless, per Psychology Today. Existentially, he sought meaning in destruction, each dungeon a twisted kingdom where he was God. His lack of remorse, even when facing victims' families, shows a void where humanity should be, per BBC. Yet the families fight, like the White March, shows resilience against despair. Philosophically, Dutroix's life sentence asks, can evil be contained, or does it fester in systems that fail to act? His case, riddled with police failures and conspiracies, leaves us haunted. How many more Dutroux lurk, protected by silence